Hey everyone, CWD Music Reviews here. I'm CWD and this is going to be a music review of the new Nails album, You Will Never Be One of Us. Nails are a power violence, grindcore, punk variant trio, and this is their third full-length album. I first caught on to Nails a while back when I tried their debut album, Unsilent Death. That was certainly an experience. Pretty much this unrelenting but short power violence album that really showed a lot of viscera, a lot of aggression, a lot of just outright primal hysteria of sorts, if that's a word I could use to describe that. And then they came out with Abandon All Life, which I did like a lot, but not really the album that I was looking forward to following up Unsilent Death. It definitely showed quite a bit of ambitious songwriting, given the fact that their closing track was 5 minutes and the average song length for a Nails album is like less than a minute, if not just almost 2. So that showed promise there, but everywhere else it was like Nails doing their thing. But now we have this new album out from Nails, and I decided to give this a try. Give this multiple tries, since once again Nails are continuing this canon of short albums, but this being about 22 minutes, it's the longest in their discography and is almost twice as long as their debut. So, did I like this album? That would certainly be an understatement, because I enjoyed this album a lot. If anything, this is actually probably my favorite Nails album so far. This album's about 10 tracks in length, and like I mentioned, it's about 22 minutes. It's brief, but not super brief in terms of what it is the genre has going for it. This style of power violence, this kind of just visceral and chaotic subset of grindcore and all that other stuff, it's not really known for its long album lengths. You take a band like Wormrot, who has like dozens of tracks on one album, and it's only like 24 minutes of that. So I'm not really mad at the album length. I mean, if anything, this being the longest Nails album to date means that they're certainly getting better at fleshing out song ideas to how long they need to be. Though some of the tracks, like Friend to All, I can't say that they fully fleshed it out to where it doesn't sound like a homogeneous part of the album in a way. It's certainly cohesive, but these tracks could easily have been like a whole minute and a half. And I guess that's my complaint with a good chunk of the tracks as well, that while, yeah, if they were longer I probably wouldn't like them as much, I really do wish that these tracks were fleshed out to like greater lengths than they already are, especially since the closing track of this album is about 8 minutes, and I know that these guys have it in them somewhere. But that's not really a complaint so much as just me nitpicking a little, because the writing on this album is actually pretty fantastic. Take the opening track, You Will Never Be One of Us, the title track to this album, and as well as the first single for this album. You get like this squelching guitar going on in the background as you get pretty much these recitations of the title of this track, You Will Never Be One of Us, said one after another by all these different people. This is like a tough community here, and it's not really something you're going to be able to join into as seamlessly as you want it to be. And then eventually you get the riffage, and it's quite fantastic. It comes in really strong, really in its power violence type vein that Nails is known for. But then all of a sudden you get like this complete rhythm switch. It reminds me of some kind of riff from like a Neurosis album, and it works particularly well. I like how catchy the hook is. It's actually pretty weird how an album of this vein can actually have catchy songwriting. The hook essentially being, "You will never be one of us," and it just drive out for like the minute and a half it runs, and it's a favorite of mine in the track listing. To go back to the vocals, one thing I do notice about this album, that I notice about Nails albums in general, is the fact that each vocal style, vocal inflection, tends to switch up. While it's been the same guy for about the past 3 albums, from what I understand anyway, the vocals always seem to change. On Silent Death, you had kind of a really deep voice and aggressive delivery, but not so foreboding that it's like intimidating. Whereas at Abandon All Life, you had a more wretched and really suffering vocals that I liked quite a bit, though I dug the In Silent Death vocals more. Here it's like they're being fronted by like this Hulk figure. This guy is just foreboding, and he's just up front, in your face, and outright just a monster in a way. A vocal delivery that is so intimidating that it lives up to the title of this album. Add to that, he's a bit more discernible in terms of the lyrics, though not so discernible that I can hear every single word he's saying. But he definitely makes the refrains very coherent and once again adds to like the catchiness. Life is a death sentence, servant intolerance. Dun, 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 dun. They come crawling back. Yeah, it's just a vocal delivery that I love, and it's one of the reasons why this is pretty much my favorite Nails album. In terms of production, Kurt Ballou is back again for the 3rd produced Nails album, and if you're familiar with albums like Torch's Harmonicraft, Black Breath's discography, Converge's discography, the most recent couple of High on Fire albums, you'll know what this album in terms of production is going to sound like. The vocals are kind of ensnared by the density that this album goes for, but not so ensnared that it loses its flair, its impact. Certainly the guitar adds to like all this density going on. It's certainly dark and dirty and all that good stuff. The bass on this album is incredibly crunchy. It's pretty much swallowing up like every single low register you could essentially think of. The drums, while they do have quite a bit of punch to them, they're not really on the forefront of the album. And that's not really a complaint of mine, since the drums still have quite a bit of presence on this album. I gotta hand it to Kurt Ballou for being so consistent with this sound, with this production style, and really handing it to a good chunk of these bands that are in the metal scene and really taking the sound and putting it on the pedestal that this genre deserves. Especially since the writing for this album and the execution of these ideas go over so well. It's nice to see that the mixing and the overall production for this sound is what it needs to be. The riffage here pretty much throughout is pretty fantastic. Tracks like Violence is Forever, one of the longest tracks on the album, it's certainly got quite a bit of multifacetedness, if that's even a word, to it as it's guiding throughout the 3.5 minutes it goes, pretty much giving us like this thrash-ish kind of intro that I like before it goes into this kind of sludgy grindcore hybrid that is incredibly interesting. And that's the thing about this album that I have to note. It's not really a power violence album. It's not like On Silent Death or Abandon All Life, where it's just mindless riffage and just outright aggression for the course of less than 20 minutes, 17 minutes. There's focus here. There's finesse to the performances as well as what riffs they're able to come up with. Whether it's a 55-second track like Parasite, while yeah, it's short and it's certainly aggressive and not exactly technical, there's still a pretty well-executed source of finesse here. And that lends itself well when you get to the closing track to the album, They Come Crawling Back, which easily the greatest Nails song Nails have ever done. You get like this doom-ish riffage and walls of I guess, guitar noise going on before it just abruptly goes into the dun 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 dun. Then while the tempo doesn't change, the riffage gets a bit more syncopated and a bit more aggressive than it previously was, which I didn't think was possible, but there you go. And it just glides throughout the 8 minutes particularly well. Like after the halfway minute mark, the guitars just go off into La La Land, but in a good way, as the drums just rumble and rumble and rumble, and there's like what I can only assume is like some kind of spoken word going on. That kind of reminds me of Leviathan's most recent album. Then it just gets into this like start-stop riffage that I enjoy a lot. It certainly proves to me that Nails, whenever they want to, they can definitely make an album that is longer than 10-20 minutes, because you have tracks like these that are like 8 minutes long, and I'm not mad at the length at all. I'm definitely engaged with what it is they're doing. There's quite a bit to contemplate with this album in terms of just overall riffage and execution and just songwriting in general, and I do like this album a lot, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to what Nails is going to do next, as if I haven't already been doing that. I will say that some of the shorter songs like Friend to All and the track Into Quietus aren't really tracks that I gravitate to. I think if Nails is going to keep impressing me, they're going to need to start fleshing out songs a lot better. Not make them like obscenely long, but make them longer and a bit more intriguing. Not to say that these songs aren't. I'm just hoping that with this next album, if they decide to go ahead and record one, and I hope they do, that they take this unique fusion of different sounds that they have created and really refined with their normal power violence sound, and that they seem to be evolving quite well and really do something incredibly vast and maybe even progressive. All in all though, I do like this album a lot. It's definitely going to be a favorite of mine for this month, as well as a highlight for the end of the year. If you're into this type of sound, if you like power violence, if you like death metal, if you like grindcore and all that stuff, then yeah, do definitely check this out. If you're a Converge fan, Kurt Ballou is producing this, and he does this sound quite a lot of justice. Do check this out. The rest of Leviathan also did the album artwork, so if you are a Leviathan fan, then yeah, do check this out. Essentially, if you like loud and in-your-face and multifaceted heavy-ass shit, then you'll definitely want this in your catalog. This album is a plus 2.4 out of plus 3. Yeah, I dug this thing a lot. Really all that I have to say in terms of a complaint is that those short songs need to be made longer, but Nails have pretty much perfected the craft at making these short songs like standalone tracks altogether, so it's just nitpicking and subjectivity there. But if you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was the reason for that, and which I consider listening to and reviewing next? CWD Music Reviews here, signing off.